Good afternoon and welcome to Conversations on Showing Up for Kids. My name is Tim Markle. I am the director of the Southern Regional Center for Children and Youth with Special Health Care Needs. We cover 14 counties in southern and southwest Wisconsin and even counties to the north of Dane County like Sauk. Yes, the awesome county of Sauk County is within the Southern Regional Center. And we are excited today that we are being joined by Jill Ellinwood. Jill is the CCS Administrator for Sauk County. So as we get started today, Jill, I know that CCS stands for Comprehensive Community Services. And when I read that, I think to myself that, gosh darn it all community services should be comprehensive. What good does it do if you just have isolated community services? But in Wisconsin, we have quite a lot of isolated community services, and we're a farming community at times in the States. We love our silos. So I am just wondering if you could explain to us a little bit, and feel free to share with the PowerPoint if that'll be helpful, exactly what CCS is. What is Comprehensive Community Services, so we know what we're talking about today?
Great, thank you. Glad to have everyone with us today. I'm going to go ahead and share just a simple PowerPoint that might help guide our discussion. Everyone see it?
Yes, that's looking good. We
Okay.
have we have the main slide, and then the slides are to the left right now. So you should be good to go. And
okay, great. This is just a slide that I use when I talk to communities, our community, about the programs, wraparound programs in Sauk County, and we have two of those. I know that we're primarily talking about comprehensive community services today, but I'll also share, if we have time, a little bit about Families Come First, which in many counties is called Coordinated Service Teams. Comprehensive Community Services, or CCS, and CST are available in most counties in the state of Wisconsin. And so hopefully the county that you are residing in would have both of those services. So comprehensive community services, what does that mean? The mission here at Sauk County really parallels the mission that this model.
Jill, I hate to interrupt, but right now we are seeing both the preview and the slide. I think if maybe you start the slideshow, if that's possible, because
Wonder if I do this. Did I lose it all together?
Yes, but that's a beautiful fungus growing on a tree.
Thank you. Let's try this
You are
again.
welcome. I love that color of orange. Okay, so now we're back. There we go. And oh, I think this will work.
How are we doing? How does it look?
I lied. That didn't work for some reason. Okay, so no problem, because we have the main slide large enough that as you scroll through your slides, we should be able to see it. So I think we're good to go. We'll continue as is.
It's hard to do on a screen share. I apologize.
No, so sometimes Zoom is just picky, I guess. So I'm not going to worry about it. We got, like I said, it's large enough that we can see it. So I think we're good to go.
So are you seeing the smaller slide on the right? Is that what you're seeing?
Correct.
Okay, so right now I've moved to the smaller slide. I wish I could make that.
And so then the larger slide is now Comprehensive Community Services with the mission.
Okay, great. Thanks for bearing with me. So again,
thank you.
So this is broadly the mission. Generally, Comprehensive Community Services is a mental health and substance use program, and it is designed to be a higher level of care, which is some of the language that we use in the mental health world, which means basically that it is more services than typical outpatient counseling, where you would come into an office maybe once, a couple times a month. This is really more intensive and really designed to serve youth and their families who are struggling, you know, in different areas of their lives, such as school or home or in the community. And so this is our mission, which really parallels the vision of both the Wisconsin CCS program, as well as the federal initiative around comprehensive community services, which came around around the early 2000s. So really looking at recovery for individuals facing mental health and substance use challenges. We provide coordinated rehabilitative services that supports individuals, or I would say youth and their families, in defining their own goals and empowering their attainment to a maximum level of functioning, stability, and independence. Comprehensive community services is a Medicaid benefit. So it combines both the care coordination or service facilitation. It also funds the psychosocial services such as mental health counseling, youth mentoring, skills development, and a variety of different services. And it also really brings in the wraparound model of a team-based approach. So everyone working together on behalf of this youth and family. And we are meeting regularly to talk about goals and challenges and progress and things like that. So that is really the broad mission of the CCS program. So I can go. I'm trying to go to the next slide. Bear with me. There. So what are you seeing? What our psychosocial rehabilitation service is now?
That is correct.
Oh, wonderful. So this is just kind of a reiteration of what I said. Psychosocial services are a type of mental health service, but they're really, again, focused on life functioning and making progress in specific areas, much more focused on goals such as I want to be able to do well in school, I want to have good friendships, I want to be able to have a better relationship, you know, in our family. And the ways that we achieve those goals are through a variety of methods. And this is a snapshot of some of the services that we provide. So that is the broad mission and services of the CCS program. I want to just give an opportunity for any questions that people might have at this point.
One of my questions that I have, Jill, is that you mentioned that it is a Medicaid-based service. Does it cover all the doorways that people get into Medicaid? So whether they have Medicaid through Katie Beckett or through SSI or through Badger Care, does the method, the doorway that they came into Medicaid matter, or does it just matter that they have Medicaid?
It does not matter what door they come in. And there are actually youth that we serve or that people have inquired about services through our program and didn't have Medicaid, and we really redirected them to Medicaid, to Katie Beckett or through the CLTS program. So we would work with caregivers to see if they would qualify for the Medicaid benefit based on the level of care need. So that, again, that would be a determination that that you would have to do a disability determination through Katie Beckett or through the CLTS program. And so we also HMOs, all of those are fine.
Thank you.
So I'll just go ahead and talk a little bit about coordinated service teams. So that is, again, what we call Family Comes First in Sauk County. So it is really kind of the precursor to the CCS program in many ways. It's really, again, that wraparound teaming, working together on behalf of the child and family. Coordinated service teams really set that wraparound model out. And again, I would say at a national, even international level, that wraparound is something that when you're doing services well, that you're really working together. You're coordinating the care, you're working in a team. And again, the mission here is very similar. The one thing I would say in the CST program is that the focus is more on the family, in the sense that the services are really meant to build the family system, rather than in the mental health world where you're really looking at the diagnosis of a child. You have a question, Tim?
Did you move on to the next slide?
Oh, you didn't see it, huh?
It did not move for us.
What are you seeing now?
I just saw you click the coordinated service team. So there we are. We're on the CST slide.
There you go. That's
Thank
what
you.
I was talking about.
Yeah.
One of the main differences between the CST program and the CCS program is that it is grant funded. There is no Medicaid benefit, and there is no provision of services other than whatever that county can afford to offer. In Sauk County, we offer youth mentoring and parent mentoring through our CST program.
So various counties will have different CST programs if they've chosen to fund CS coordinated service teams or families come first.
Right. The state gives, I would say, a nominal grant for CST in the state of Wisconsin at this time. And so, we do have to do some county share dollars in order to do that. But I would say broadly, that there is a limited budget, since it is not paid through regular Medicaid or other funding sources.
And because it's not through Medicaid, do you need to be Medicaid eligible to access any CST services?
You do not. You do not have to be Medicaid eligible. So you could have regular commercial insurance or so forth and so on. I think the way the CST works is that if the family or youth were participating in services or needing to participate in services, that care coordinator would help them with maybe a private clinic or a private provider in order to get those services. So you have all that care coordination, but not necessarily the funding for services.
Which care coordination can help. That's for
Absolutely.
sure. It's a very confusing system.
Yeah, navigating the children's mental health system is, I think, one of the most difficult systems to navigate. I mean, all of our mental health services in the United States, at least, are really based on an adult model of care. And kids are not little adults. They're kids with developmental needs and services that need to be developmentally appropriate. And so, these wraparound type of programs are really trying to address some of those huge gaps. For example, if a child is seeing a psychiatrist in one location, a school counselor is involved in supporting them, and then maybe also a therapist. We would really endeavor to bring those people together to meet periodically to say, this is some of the things that Sally or Johnny are struggling with, and this is what my perspective is. This is how I think what they could benefit from, and so we really have that shared dialogue. Obviously, parent voice and choice. So really, the parent really driving what the goals are and what types of services they would want to receive. So this wraparound principle slide, are you seeing that? And that very happy little girl?
Yes, with the girl in the middle of a celebration.
Yes. So these are our wraparound principles, not our wraparound principle. They are the wraparound principles, again, at a national level. But we really endeavor to embed all of these principles and in terms of our practices and our working with families. So family voice and choice, team-based, culturally competent, utilizing natural supports, which means that Aunt Sally or grandma or pastor, whomever is involved in that child's life may be a part of the team. Of course, community-based, so we provide services in the community often. When we work with youth, but in both programs, that's true. And we work with, we may be going for a walk out to the local park, or we may be supporting that child by going to the school and having lunch and just trying to get a sense of what challenges they're having there. So again, community-based, individualized. We don't have a cookie cutter approach to services for each child and family. We're going to be developing, trying to understand what the needs are and really individualizing services for that child and family. Strength-based, like that little girl is just celebrating, and that's kind of our motto, is that as progress is made, we celebrate it and acknowledge positive outcomes. We're also persistence, and I say persistence in the face of setbacks, because things are never kind of a straight line in recovery or receiving services. And so we just keep a positive attitude and keep trying until we get what we're looking for in terms of outcomes. This just is just briefly. There's a state does a survey.
We did not move ahead with you, and I don't know why. I know, but I did want to say that I love that comment on persistence. Is with a lot of health issues, and I think in my personal reflection back is that some types of mental health issues is that persistence is what it takes. Because it's really hard when sometimes you feel your own brain is working against you. And we've now jumped onto the comments, just so you know.
I just kind of skipped over the graph because it was I can just summarize is that we always do a survey. It's called the mental health. Oh, I can't remember it now. It's called the MISHIP, but we get feedback from our participants in our program. I was got to brag a little bit. This year we had of individuals enrolled in our programs, we got 79% of those completed surveys. And so
that's remarkable.
And
that is really a remarkable turn. I wish, wow, yeah.
And the way we did it, I think, is really that person-to-person contact. We really, this is important. This is why we're doing it. We really want your input. And as a part of that survey, we get comments. They are able to write personal comments in addition to rating our services. And so it's just a little bit of a snapshot of how people feel that the services have made a difference in their lives. And so I wanted to share that. I feel pretty positive about our program here in Sauk County. I think this model is a good model. I think the big challenge for us is keeping up with the pace of requests for services. In Sauk County, through both programs, we served about 415 consumers through our program last year. So yes. Keeps us busy. And the other thing I'll just say briefly, CCS in particular is a private-public partnership. And so some counties choose to do it internal, but we do it both. We have Sauk County staff as well as I think 22 contracted agencies that work with us. It really allows us to expand as needed to meet the need. Sometimes it's a bit of a delay when we have just a number of referrals, but we can continue to add additional providers, care coordinators, service facilitators as there is a growth in requests for services. I'll share a little bit about one other thing that might be good for any parents that are on the line. There is a every program also has a accompanying coordination committee, and a coordination committee would include individuals who've received services, parents whose youth have been involved in services, school staff, public health, as well as any other interested committee members. So if you have this program in the county that you reside, there would be a coordination committee, and you could inquire about when it meets and if you were interested in learning more about that. The coordination committee really gives us the feedback about what our goals are for the year. They review the surveys and really help us to do the best job to keep our program in aligned with what the community is wanting and asking for in terms of services. And the final slide is just my contact information. If anybody had an interest in learning more about CCS program or getting connected to the CCS program in your county, or if you do reside in Sauk, I'd be happy to answer any questions people might have.
Fantastic. Sorry, I was just pasting in. I tracked down the DHS, the Department of Health Services page for the Comprehensive Community Services, which then lists the different counties where CCS is located. And so people can go and find their CCS county, and we'll put that with a sheet as well. So Jill, I'm just wondering, can you provide us with kind of, I know you deal with a broad group of people, but can you give us like a profile of the family or youth that generally is going to find their way and get help from CCS? Or is that too broad of a question?
I'm going to go ahead and stop the sharing if that's okay.
Yes, please. And if you can get me that PowerPoint, I'll attach it and send it out to the people that are here today too.
Sure, sounds good. The profile, I think there's really the eligibility criteria is really involved in one or more systems of care. That would be something like mental health, maybe IEP in the school system. There might be maybe there was some juvenile justice referral. So I would say generally the kids and families that we're working with, they have kids that are really having that struggle in a couple of different areas. And they also have had a diagnosis. So they currently have a mental health or substance use diagnosis. And then thirdly, they're interested and really want to spend the energy and time that it would take to be involved in a higher level of care, because that means probably 2 or 3 hours of services a week. And so it is more intensive. So I would say the functional qualification, the diagnosis, and the interest in really this type of higher level of service.
And the easiest way for people to find out eligibility is to go to their county agency for CCS and start the process.
I would say yes. I think that there is a screening tool called the Children's Functional Screen, which is used in a variety of programs, and that is also used for the CCS program. The CST program does not have a functional screen requirement. So again, yes, I do encourage you just to reach out and ask the questions. Does this make sense? Would my child benefit from these types of services? And another thing for any of you who have children who may be enrolled in the CLTS program, the Children's Long-Term Support Program, or other county-based programs, you can also be enrolled in CCS at the same time. Here at Sauk County, we work together very closely with the CLTS staff, for example.
Now, I know that with CLTS is that there is a time where that funding and the support from CLTS will stop, and the person then has to be re-eligibilized. What a horrible word. I just made that up right now. But they have to be found eligible then for adult long-term supports. Is there a similar transition in CCS when that child turns 18 or 19 or 21?
Yeah, it's similar. It's similar, but much easier. I guess long story short, I mean, there is an adult functional screen, but it is not, does not have the level of requirements that the adult, we call family care or managed adult services. And so it's usually, you know, it may be an issue around insurance and Medicaid, but we often will transition youth that we're serving when they move into 18, if that still seems like an appropriate fit for them. And so we're able to do that without stopping services.
Oh, and that's when we think about transition is so hard. There's so many new things as people are becoming legal adults and so many questions to be asked, and to be able to have something stable. And so it sounds
Absolutely.
like CCS is able to provide some sort of stability during that transition period for the
And
mental health
actually,
care.
Right. And we don't have to do the new screen on the date of their 18th birthday either. We can do a new screen when a new screen is due. So they're due annually. And so if, you know, their birthday, we don't have that same marker where family care would be. I think you can only apply 17 and 6 months. And then there's this whole process. And, you know, we don't have that kind of requirements. We can support youth in transition and actually use the youth screen if it's appropriate through their early 20s. Mm-hmm.
Just want to remind people that you are free to unmute, and I will gladly call on you. You can also put your questions in the chat. Can you talk to us a little bit more about how the teams set goals? Because we know in a lot of other programs is families have to come on with this idea of what the outcome is. So what it is that they're looking to achieve, and then what is it that they're asking the program to fund to lead to that outcome. Now with this, it sounds like it could be a combination of therapy, it could be interactions at school, it could be any number of mental health supports. So how does the team come up with what's going to be the most appropriate for this youth? And when does, and then the second question is, when does the youth start to have a voice in determining their mental health needs and programming?
Sure. I think that the goals start with really identifying needs. And so really what is getting in the way of them having the quality of life, the life that they want for their child or the youth for themselves. And that, so really starting from that point, I have a son who, I really want him to be able to participate in some extracurriculars or more fully participate in school with his peers, but his dysregulation is really getting in the way, or his anxiety is making it very difficult for him to stay in the classroom, for example. So the families are really telling us, this is what's not working. This is what's not going okay. And families also may have ideas about the services that they would want. But we're also going to be working with them and saying, well, did you think about this service? It really might, this is how I see it might be a benefit to you. What do you think? And so we talk together. It's a shared dialogue and to really kind of map out to map out the goals and then the services. In regards to your second question about youth voice, I think unless the child is, I think every child has a voice and it has input into kind of what's not working in their life and what they want to be better. And obviously a child of 5 years old may not be able to articulate what services they want or what, in maybe in the language that we use. But, kids say, I wish I wasn't so angry all the time, for example, would be a kid-friendly language. And we really endeavor to get that their voice involved in our understanding their needs and identifying the goals. I think that their participation in the team meetings, again, it really varies depending on the developmental needs of that child. Some 5-year-olds are really fine sitting around a table talking to adults and talking about their stuff. And some kids just can't do it. It's not working for them. They need to get up and move. or they really, it's just not, so we would have to get their input in a different way by maybe another trusted adult or another service provider that they are able and feel safe to talk with. And so we would get their input in that way. We love it when the teens start running their own meetings. That's really
Yes. I mean, the whole, I'm sure one of the goals is that self-determination and a self-run life
right.
is that I'm making my decisions to achieve the outcomes I want to have in my life.
Absolutely.
So I'm also wondering, if someone comes to, and this may be unanswerable. I've been known to ask unanswerable questions before. But let's say somebody comes through and it turns out that they're, for some reason, let's say they're not eligible. They don't pass the screening for adult long-term services, and they don't pass for Katie Beckett, and they're not eligible for SSI. Or how do you have places that you then, or agencies that you refer those families to who are not going to be able to access the wraparound services? Are there, I'm just curious, because I don't know. We refer people to you, and then I'm like, oh, but what if they're not eligible for CCS? Where's the next option for families, if you know?
I would say that we would want to have the family have a path or next step and really identify, for example, if you don't qualify for CCS, it really may be that you're appropriate for the CST, so coordinated service teams, for example. And if that really is much more of I just want to find a child-friendly therapist. I'm really not sure that I have, the time or the need for the higher level of care. So then I may be talking with that family about therapists in our community that work with kids. Maybe it's a way of connecting to our community. So I might be redirecting them to something like Boys and Girls Club or some other option. So yeah, and that would be both. I have an intake unit here at Sauk County, and we would do that with any family calling to request any type of services. We also have an outpatient clinic here at Sauk County. So, and we have child and family therapists on staff as well.
And is the CCS program able to help people even if their kiddo has like different developmental disabilities?
Yes. The developmental disability there would also have to be a mental health or substance use diagnosis. But yeah, many of the youth that we serve may have a developmental disability, such as autism or other cognitive disability or something along those lines.
Yeah, that's the comorbidity between developmental disabilities and the mental health challenges is really stark, when you
and
look
I would
at
say
it.
that, I would say some of those kids, would have more significant needs and really can benefit from the wraparound supports.
Absolutely. Any questions from anybody who has joined us today? And I really at this point encourage somebody to ask a question, or people are going to think that I'm just lying, that nobody has joined us and that I'm just a bald-faced liar, which as you can tell, I am not bald-faced. I have hair. But I also understand if you don't want to unmute and ask, you can also put it into the chat box. So I'm just.
Yeah, I would just say that if there's any,
please.
Yeah, is there anything that I've said that doesn't make sense or that you would like clarification? Please go ahead and ask.
But we do have a comment that says, thank you, but I don't have any questions. So yes, people are listening. This is very good to know. Any final thoughts or anything else that any other places where people may need to be knowledgeable about around CCS? I will look for the state link to how to find a CST team, see if we have that listing or not. I listed the, find your CCS team and contact for the county, and that's your starting point. But any final words on how to how to work with the community together or anything like that?
I guess I would just encourage people to ask in your communities. I think the other thing is you could also, I think that you put the website that does have the contact information for all the counties that are enrolled in CCS. You can find out some good information just by kind of looking at the DHS website. The other thing I would say is the Wisconsin Children's System of Care website also has some good information. I've been a part of what's called the Children's Come First committee, which is a state level committee that really looks at all of the range of services for youth in the state of Wisconsin. And that website also probably would be helpful to share, Tim.
The Children's System of Care website?
Yep.
Got it. Fantastic. Yeah, I am not as familiar with that one as I am CCS. So that's fantastic. And the other thing that I learned today was I think it's really important to understand that each CCS, each county having CCS program is supposed to have that advisory board. And so there is a place to go if you feel something is not happening exactly right. Is that people want to know how to make the program better. Every program should want to know how to be better and to better serve the people that they want to serve. And so that was new information for me today. So I really appreciate that.
Great.
All right. Well, Jill, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. We really appreciate it. I know that this is one of those programs in Wisconsin that can be hard for providers and for families to understand because it can be nuanced by each county. And so to be able to contact that county and find out how they are running CCS and what they have available based on that private-public partnership, along with if they have that sort of tag-along program, the CST, that they've chosen to fund to utilize the state funds for as well. But this is just such an important part of the children's mental health system, of helping children who are eligible for Medicaid to be able to access wraparound care, because we know that no child grows up in a silo, is that they are who they are and everybody else is sort of circling around them. And so to be able to provide that care, that wraparound service is fantastic. So thank you so much for doing what you are doing and appreciate you being with us today. And we'll chat again later. Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon, everyone.